Hi, I'm Marty Schupak. Welcome to Schupak Sports and my YouTube channel. Today's episode is our practice template number 2 for baseball and softball coaches, little league age and up. I've had anywhere above 8 to 12, 13. I've even had high school and college coaches. I've been on the phone with college coaches consulting about practices. So all my drills, or most of them, can be used high school and college. You're going to have to make some adjustments, but the concept is there. The concept that you want to get as many people involved and have little or no standing around. That's the concept you want to get to. No matter what you're coaching in baseball, softball, from the youth level and up, even in other sports. All right, let's get to it. This is right from my book, Baseball Coaching, a guide for the youth coach and parent, which I'll give you an idea later what it is. This is our second practice number 2. I have 60 sample practices in it. And like every practice, you want to start out with a warm-up. Again, and I've said this before, many years ago, I neglected warm-ups my first few years as a coach, but studies have come out that even the basic warm-up drills, even for like 4 to 8 minutes, can help prevent injuries. And also another residual effect that's beneficial is that when you do warm up, you're teaching kids a life lesson about warming up before they do a physical activity. So when they're into their adult lives, of if they're playing even golf, tennis, or going jogging, or playing some basketball, you want to warm up as an adult. All right. Okay. So you're going to warm up for 5 to 10 minutes. I like to start out with a lap or two around the infield, then some arm rotations. I've been through this before with you guys. And then we get right into the drills. The first drill I do in this practice template is the third base drill. Okay. Again, if you looked at my first template, we've done this before. It doesn't show it, but if your team has 12 players, I divide them up 4 players at first base, 4 at third, 4 at home. I hit ground balls to the third baseman. They throw it to first, and they go to the end of the third base line. And then after they all have 1 or 2 chances, they all rotate. The line at third base will run across and go to first base. First base will go home. Home will go to third base. Now, a very important concept that I started doing in this drill, when I'm hitting the ground balls, the last ground ball I hit in line, I yell out bobble drill. And what I want the player to do at third base is to field the ball, get up with it almost like they're going to transfer it to the throw arm. Then I want them to drop it and then pick it up barehanded and throw to first. What I'm trying to do is condition players at a very young age that even though you bobble the ball or knock it down, you still have time in a lot of cases to get the out. All right. We don't want players that bobble or they make a error to just give up on the ball. So again, this is a very good drill. I'll spend 5 or 10 minutes on it. The reason I do it at third base, it's the longest throw in the infield to first base. If it's early in the season or you have some young kids to the team, you tell them you don't have to reach it on a fly ball. Just get it there accurately, either on 1 or 2 bounces. All right, that's the first thing we do in this practice. And then I go right to a kind of a fun drill. It could set up as a competition. I call it the 3-man relay drill. I'm sure you've seen this on the internet and everywhere else, where you have teams of 3 and you have the baseballs. And what I do is I put them in front of the first person. On the go command, the first player will run to the baseball, pick it up, throw it to the middle player, and he turns to the glove side. We want to teach them fundamentals. He throws it to the third guy. throws it back to the middle guy, again, turning to the glove side, and he throws it back to the first guy. First team that gets the ball back to the first player gets a point. Kids love this drill. Kids love competition. Now, after each turn, you rotate players. And it works well. What you have to do as coach, though, is you can't load one team. You have to divide it up evenly. All right. One of the things you might want to do also, when you do this drill, you'll see some overthrows. A lot of times what I'll do in these throwing drills, I'll have an extra baseball at the foot of each player. And I'll say on an overthrow, you can pick up the ball and throw that. We give them like a second chance. So that's the 3-man relay drill. That's the first drill I do after the third base drill. Okay. The next drill I do, and I'm always referring to I keep an index card in my back pocket, and I'm always referring to it. Again, make sure before the season, develop a master list of drills. There are so many resources for drills, but learn drills at the beginning of the season. So when you plan your practice, you just cherry pick the drills you want to do. If you want to do a concept, then you cherry pick the concept that you've seen, drills that you like and that make sense. I go into, after that, in this practice, right into first and third defensive strategies. And what I've done usually is I divide up the first and third defensive strategies at the beginning of the year into basic, intermediate, and advanced. What I see a lot of coaches do on first and third strategies, they could give their team like 10 or 15 different plays. I think it's a mistake. Again, you have to know your personnel. I like to keep it basic. I'll tell you my basic strategy I used for the last 4 or 5 years I coach. I would just yell out 3 names. Players in the infield, I'll yell out Little League situation, get ready, Johnny, Steven, Matthew. And then before the game, they'll know like the second player called, that's who gets the throw. It worked well. Even the other teams in the league saw it, what I was doing. They tried to figure it out. And I would change the name I called, but it's a basic situation. You could put in some advanced drills. And again, I have them in my books, and they're a lot of fun when they work, but you have to know your personnel. So we go into the first and third defensive strategies. And one of the keys about running an effective practice, when you're already on a field doing one drill, if you could go to another drill and not have to go to a different location on the field, you're saving time. Again, my practices don't run any longer than an hour and 15 minutes, or an hour and a half. So I'm always thinking ahead of the next drill. I go from first and third defensive strategies to first and third, and I'm going to keep the same paper. I'm just going to tell you it's offensive strategies, okay? So if I take away the term defensive, and I just change it around, and I try to make it as practical as possible. And what I try to do on offensive strategies is I love to have my player at first base try to draw the throw, okay? One of the things also you might want to do when you're thinking of the strategies, if you're going to steal or not too, make sure that the player at third base is running home in foul territory. Obviously, because if the ball hits him and he's in fair territory, he's out. But develop your own offensive strategies and know your personnel. Remember this also, you could get an extra 1 to 2 runs a game if you practice base running at every practice. Okay, that's a guarantee. I'm telling you right now, you have to practice it though. And you have to practice it in different drills. There's a difference between telling a player what to do and also practicing what to do. I see too many coaches in the third base coaching box telling players what to do when they should have practiced it during the week. So this is another drill or strategy that we do. We went over first and third defensive strategies. Then we'll go over first and third offensive strategies. And I'll give you a hint also. Remember that when you talk about base running, your fastest base runner isn't necessarily your best base runner. I have had base runners with a little above average speed that have incredible instincts, and they were just tremendous base runners. So that's another drill. And again, this is kind of a skill that we're doing. So what I try to do is I try to put in fun drills after skill drills. So we did a couple of skill drills with first and third defensive, offensive situations. And then I put in a fun drill. It's the circle drill. What it is we're putting players in a circle, and I throw a ball in. They have to throw it. Anyone in the circle except the person next to them. And you want to count and see on the ground, they're throwing ground balls, how many in a row the team could get. You could do a lot with this. I know it looks simple, kids like it, but what you could also do is you could, after you throw one baseball in, you could throw a second baseball in. You could also divide the team into two smaller circles, and you could have a competition. Kids love competition. This is a fun drill. Kids enjoy it. Try it. If the kids are older, you could try that also. Okay? Circle drill. It's a fun drill. Again, trying to alternate skill drills with fun drills. I've found that if you do that, when you do the skill drills, the kids will absorb it more. You have a better chance of them learning the game of baseball. Okay, the next drill I do is in this particular practice. Again, we're talking about sample practice number 2 out of 60. I work on game situations, which is really an open-ended topic, but it's important. So if I played a team on a Monday, whether we won or lost, and if one of my players didn't back up a throw, I'll try to set up the situation on Tuesday's practice, not to embarrass the player, but to show them what we could have done to prevent a run or to prevent a player moving to another base. I also like to teach them basic concepts. This is a simple one, and I've seen like once every, not every year, probably every 2 or 3 years, where a player will slide into a base and the fielding team will be coached to keep your glove on the player. And as he's getting up, the player calls time. He thinks time is called, but it wasn't. And as he gets up, the player keeps the glove on him, and the umpire will look at it and call him out. And he'll say, "Up, I called time." He goes, "I didn't see the time. I didn't acknowledge it." So what I'm doing here is I'm having a player slide into a base. I'm having him stay down. I'm having him call time. And the coach who's acting as the umpire, he has to acknowledge the timeout before the player gets up. This is something you're not going to practice every practice. You'll do this once or twice a year. But again, you could tell a player what to do from the third base coaching box, but if you show them, even if it's only once, it has a better effect. All right, so this is a game situation I teach, go over. Again, you want to go over situations that happen, though, in the games you just played. That's the way you teach players the game of baseball. If your team's not practicing, you should practice. I know there are a lot of travel teams that they're really just like drowning in games. I've seen travel teams play 60 to 80 games in June, July, and August in the summer. It's up to you. If your philosophy is you like games better than practices, then that's what you do. I like a combination of practices and games. I like to have 2 practices for every game. If I have a 25 game season, 30 game season, I'll have 50 to 60 practices. That's besides, I'll have like about 10 or 15 practices before the season. That's the way you teach players baseball and softball practices. Relate stories that happened in the past with your coaching experience. This is how the players will learn. Okay. So that's the game situations. And that's about it. And then I go right to batting practice, which I've used this picture before. And again, remember, if you haven't seen my session on batting practice, please search for it, because my batting practices will give players an extra 20 to 40% more swings if you set it up correctly. All right. Don't deny your team batting practice. This is what baseball and softball players live for when they're on a team. So that wraps it up. This is the practice template number 2. Just so you know, it's all in this book, Baseball Coaching, a Guide for the Youth Coach and Parent. I'll put a link down for it. And again, usually I advise people that follow me, don't buy my books if you don't have the money. Go to the library. If you're going to be coaching a long time, this is one book I think you would really like to invest in. I think you'll use it as a resource for 4, 5, or 6 years. And if you do that, I also recommend you get the ebook. And the reason being, on these practices, I try to set it up in such a way that I would like it set up. So on the ebook, all 60 practices, I have made it a live link. So if you click the drill, it goes right to the drill in the book for the description. Okay. Other recommendations as far as book, here's a book for you. If you haven't seen it, 44 Baseball Mistakes and Corrections. I have put this book together because I noticed year in and year out, the same mistakes came up over and over and over again. I just said, you know what, this is ridiculous. So I put together a book, the most common mistakes I see over and over and over again. So listen, I want to thank you. Thank you for subscribing. Please subscribe if you didn't. I want to try to keep this format going as long as I could. We'll probably be getting to other sports. For Marty Schupak and Schupak Sports, until next time.